Howdy, folks. I'm Piccolo, the preening pigeon,
I'm Amber.
and here's some messenger Reddit. Alright, folks. Our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for backing out as a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding? I'm a 28-year-old female, and I was asked to be a bridesmaid in my friend, a 24-year-old female's wedding. I was asked 6 weeks ago, and her wedding is 7 months away. I assumed that it would be normal expectations, and they would be in place to help plan the bridal showers, the bachelorette party, etc., and be a part of the wedding day and the reception. I expected some time and financial obligation, of course, but the responsibilities are really getting out of hand. Also, the vibe of the wedding has changed and I'm nervous about the repercussions to my career. I must pay for my bridesmaid dress, pay for my hair and makeup on the wedding day, pay for and host one of the events, bridal shower, honeydew, stock the bar, bachelorette, etc. Each bridesmaid is responsible for funding and hosting one of the events, pay for my part of the out-of-state week-long bachelorette trip, contribute $100 to their honeymoon fund, purchase gifts out of their wedding registry, nothing on the registry is below $150, cover all of the odds and ends, wedding day shoes, matching bachelorette trip outfits, etc. Financially, being part of this wedding is going to cost well over $2,000. Again, I expect to be spending some money, and I'm not cheap, but this seems a bit excessive. Well, the other issue is that the vibe of the wedding. Before, it was a typical traditional wedding. Now it's become heavily centered around alcohol and guns. I don't just mean that it's an open bar, but the actual theme of the wedding is now shots, shots, vows. And I can't make this up. The bridesmaids' photos are going to be the bridesmaids taking shots. The groomsmen's photos will have the groomsmen holding guns. During the ceremony, the officiant will say, "Does anyone object?" And then all of the groomsmen will pull out their guns and jokingly threaten anybody who objects. When the bridesmaids and the groomsmen enter the reception, we must run down the aisle lined with shots and take as many of them as possible. I'm not a prude by any means, nor do I have any issues with alcohol. However, I am very cautious of what I post online. I work for a public school system, and as a teacher, I like to keep things professional. I know that the pictures will end up on social media, and I would prefer not to be pictured taking shots and chugging alcohol. Also, with the climate of school shootings and other traumatic events, I think the idea of guns is in poor taste. I feel bad to back out after making the commitment. I love my friend and I'm honored to stand by her side on the most important day of her life. I know that I need to make a decision soon as she will need time to fill my spot. Am I selfish for worrying about my own finances on her big day? Or worried about the public image? I don't want to lose my friend over this. Will I be the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. First of all, this wedding sounds like a disaster. Mixing guns and alcohol, I just don't see any way that can end well for people.
There's a difference between responsible gun ownership and this. This is not responsible gun ownership. This is like a disaster, a tragedy waiting to happen. If they are using real guns, then this is irresponsible beyond a shadow of a doubt. You do not mix guns and alcohol, and certainly not guns in a public event, and you never point a gun, even if it's unloaded, at somebody.
Exactly. And so just the whole idea of pulling a gun on people who are objecting, that is just no. That is no.
So while I do think that OP has some points about the public imagery, that it would probably be in poor taste for her to be seen at a wedding drinking massive quantities of alcohol.
Well, and school teachers should not be judged for what they do outside of school time. But the reality is teachers have been sacked for less.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, women in particular have a hard time with, being in public schools. If you dare do anything that's not family friendly and the parent sees that, then you could lose your job over it.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important for OP to keep in mind here, that the image probably will come back to haunt her, and if she is worried about it coming back to haunt her, then she probably has a good reason to worry about that. Not that it should.
No, it shouldn't. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely 100% bogus that teachers have to worry about what they do on their private time, because she's an adult. she can drink alcohol if she wants. Like, that shouldn't be an issue. But unfortunately it is. And I also think like the cost, that's a very excessive cost for a wedding. So I think it's totally fair to bow out of this. And based on, like, you know your friend better than we do. So like whatever reasons would make the most sense to your friend, whether it's, oh, hey, this isn't my budget right now, I didn't realize how much it would cost, or, oh, hey, I'm a public school teacher and I might lose my job if there's photos of me on the internet drinking. Like, whichever side appeals to her, like, you know.
Yeah. And also, school teachers, I know that they're known for the massive quantities of money that they rack in every year. And so surely this wouldn't be a trouble for her to afford. But for, us average folks, $2,000 is quite a bit to spend on any kind of event like that.
Well, yeah, like that is a lot of money.
So, yeah, I don't blame OP for saying this is financially hard for me, that this would be a hardship. But then if her friend offered to pay for her side of things, then she would have to also then make the excuse of my teacher stuff too. Then it's just going to sound like excuses at that point.
Well, that's why I say, like, based on how the friend is, like, play it, whichever side the friend is going to. But it sounds like the friend kind of wants money and probably wouldn't pay, so.
Yeah. Well, I think if she were to present it with both and just say, between the cost and between the theme, I don't think I can do this without losing my job. So, yeah. Anyhow, take care and good luck, OP. Alright, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Liquidating My Daughter's College Fund to Keep Our Dream House? I'm a 50-year-old female, and I lost my husband 4 years ago. I also have a 16-year-old daughter. My late husband left me everything and told me to trust his lawyer. My husband had worked for 20 years as a doctor and did some minor investing, so I inherited over 7 figures. A year later, I decided to list our home of 12 years and received an offer too good to refuse. With the inheritance, as well as the influx of cash from selling the house, I decided to move my daughter and I to Malibu because we always dreamed of a home next to the beach, but my husband was exceptionally tight-fisted and called homes there money pits. We found a beautiful home by the sea. I never personally handled anything regarding buying a home before, so I did not anticipate all the extra costs beyond the sticker price. But my daughter was so excited, so I decided to go for it. My late husband's lawyer was furious at my decision, so I decided to stop taking his calls. I ended up signing with some money manager who said that we would be passively earning 90% of what the surgeons earned per year. But the money manager ended up taking our investments, and I took the dwindling money out and made my own investments, which made it worse. And long story short, because of all of that, I have around $35,000 available to me now, not to mention our debts. With the amount available to me, I'm looking at only being able to pay for 1 month of mortgage and upkeep, and I'm basically out of luck until my business gets clients. However, the place where we do have a significant amount of money is the fund that my husband started for our daughter. With the money there, I could prevent our credit cards from being shut down and not have to worry about the mortgage for many more months. So I ended up liquidating my daughter's college fund, and I told her about it today, and she was furious and said that she cannot believe all of her dad's work is gone. She also said that she won't be supporting me for retirement. Am I the jerk for trying to fix my mistake and trying to keep our house? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk? And actually, tragedy or not the tragedy?
I mean, OP made so many bad, like, reading the story was just like one of those ones where you go, oh no, over and over and over again. Like, I understand not everyone is good at money, but you really shouldn't get to a point where you go from 7 figures to having to liquidate your child's college fund.
Yeah.
Like, I understand wanting to live on a beach, like, that sounds chill, but if your husband said it, you couldn't afford it, and his lawyer is saying you can't afford this, and you just decide to go ahead, like, ignore everyone who is trying to talk to you, talk about finances, when you admittedly say you don't know much about finances.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this is an unfortunate situation, and I think OP learned some really hard lessons here, and I feel bad for them. I really do, because she was taken advantage by this one individual who, it sounds like they promised her a huge amount of money for her investments, and they just weren't able to deliver on it. And so I think that that's a tragedy in its own right. It sounds like she was expecting to earn probably around 90% of what her late husband, had earned. And on 7 figures, that probably wouldn't have been too much of a stretch. I don't know how much he made. So, but because how the economy has gone, really, it's one of those situations where this last couple of years in the economy have been pretty bad. And so she really needed to go with a financial advisor who was going to be able to weather the market. And one of the things about these funds, the way they're kind of set up, they're not set up to have the money pulled out of them all at once. And when you do that, it basically causes you to lose money that you might have actually regained. So she might have actually, in an upswing market, might have regained all of those losses. So it's just kind of one bad decision after another bad decision here, and I really do feel bad for her. But she should have listened to the people who were advising her, like what you were saying, and not taken and bought a home where she couldn't afford it.
Or as the costs escalated, sold and went back to a different house. Like any step along the way, it seems like she is so set on having this house that she's willing to basically throw everything else away, including her daughter's future education fund.
Yeah. OP, my advice, sell the house. I know it's your dream house. You're going to get a lot of money for it still. I think Malibu area is still a pretty tight market all in all. I don't know if it's as tight as it was when you bought the house. But if you can't afford the house and it's bearing down on you, it's better to lose a little bit of money than to lose all of your money.
Right. And a house, like, it may not be as fancy or nice if you have to move into a different house, but the key thing is your daughter will still have the money to be able to pursue higher education.
Yeah.
And that is way more valuable than a house.
Yeah. Get in contact with your husband's lawyer. See what he has to say, and see what your old financial advisor has to say. Right. They're going to be the best resources to understand and know the details of your financial situation.
And it's going to be, like, I understand it's going to be uncomfortable to go talk to them all this time, and they may chew you out, and, like, that's not going to feel good. But hopefully they will be looking out for your best interest and still help you.
Yeah. And get a place that you can actually live below your means, right? You need to start living below your means. You need to actually not be spending more money than what you're bringing in, and be sure that you can actually survive on the money that you have.
And there are safe, like, the treasury bonds and whatnots that you can put money in to basically keep up with inflation. You won't be, like, making bank off of it, but if you just need, like, your daughter's college fund to be safe and keep up with inflation, you can put it in a treasury bond or something like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that OP should be doing here financially, and it's just a sad situation. So, anyhow, take care and good luck, OP. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she's got a joke.
Why don't koalas count as bears?
Well, koalas don't count as bears because they're marsupials and they aren't real bears.
In other words, they don't have the right qualifications.
Yeah, I like it. And I have Mega Met. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Hump Day. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Amber, I need some moral guidance, and please have it involve either finances or gun safety.
I think I'm going to go with some gun safety here. I mean, I think one important moral to take away from story 1 is that the safest way to attend a shot Val's wedding is to stay far, far away.
Or have it involve squirt guns.
But yeah, if there are real firearms, you do not want to be anywhere where drunken groomsmen can be pointing those at you.
Exactly. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye!